you've gone to do so many of these DC animated films. They've covered so many different corners of the DC universe. What is it about Superman Red Son that appealed to you as a storyteller?
Well, I think first of all, it's just that my comic book buying years was the '80s and probably early, mid, late-ish '90s, but I got a job and then I sort of stopped collecting comics after that. But I remember seeing posters of it, and the whole thing of as as an art student, the whole propaganda art and stuff like that has always the graphicness of it has always been I think something that people always loved. And I was like one of them, and so it always struck me as something that I was just like, wow, this is really interesting. And even just the whole. It evokes ideas of sort of martial law, utopian type of, what do you call them? Fahrenheit 451 type things, All these, I've lost for words, but that type of, story, And so, as a genre, I've always loved that kind of stories too. But the other thing is just that, like you said, we've done so many Superman movies. Is like now's an opportunity to sort of play a Superman that has a different ideology. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think again, Mike Miller is always so great about he has the catchiest taglines and his story is just they're like if you look at just the concept of them, I'm sure if you look at you read one sentence or two sentences about it, you're just like, wow, that seems really interesting. Mm-hmm. He's great at that.
Oh, he really is. That is kind of his secret skill as a creator. Yeah. So it's not just Superman who's being reinvented in this film. It's right. Batman, it's Wonder Woman, it's Green Lantern. Right. It's Lex Luthor. Do you have a particular favorite reinvention of a classic character in this? Who do you think is the funnest transformation because of this film?
Oh, it really is about Superman and sort of Lex Luthor. I think... I love Batman, I think, just because of the way Roger Craig voiced him. He gave him so much hate in it, But again, Wonder Woman is really interesting as well. Vanessa did such a great job with her, but I like the complexity, I think, of Superman. And that's the thing I think we leaned really hard into about this movie. It's not just sort of it is about the plot, but it's more about sort of how Superman he starts, right? And again, most of my movies, I really try to focus on the characters and the heart of what makes this person tick. What are their motivations and what are their foils and what are they fighting against, that type of thing. And I think Superman is, again, his the journey of it, hopefully it reads, right, is this whole thing of him being this idealistic sort of believer in the ideology of communism, about everybody's equal and everybody's, it's fair to everybody. Mm. But then kind of having to go through, and I refer to it as it's almost like the burden of the crown, right? Is sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things in order for the greater, body to live, kind of a thing. And it's him kind of coming to terms with how do I do that? How do I not do that? How do I do something that's different? But then he realizes that, I have to do that, and I've become basically the thing that I didn't want. So this whole journey, and heartbreak of him, but then sort of coming back around, and then still he could force everybody because he's the most powerful man on the planet. I'm totally going to spoilers about this, but at the end he just relinquishes it because he knows that he's wrong. So I don't know. I think it's just such a great sort of character piece on him.
Oh, that's great. So I know not necessarily teasing where you guys are going next, but so you guys have done this. You've done Gotham by Gaslight. Oh, yeah. Are there any other Elseworlds, or even just any other time periods that you would love to see these characters be shunted into and see what happens to them?
I would, because I have a good time, I think, with a lot of these Elseworld ones. I don't know. I'm very blessed. I work with some really good people. Especially at the top. I've been fortunate enough to work with Bruce Timm, and James Tucker. And they always sort of like, not all of them are great, but most of them at least are interesting. I mean, I think there's something there that I could work with, and so I've been very fortunate. I haven't worked on anything that I think is like, a grade A stinker. I mean, some are weaker, but I think they have a certain amount of merit. So